The very first time I flew as a child, I was in tears for most of the flight with ear pain. I have since spent a lifetime flying with ear pain and trying every trick in the book to pop my ears on a flight. Apparently, I'm a tough nut to crack, or rather a tough ear to pop. But I have finally found a few techniques that work, and a few more that haven't worked for me, but they might work for you. Today, I'm sharing 10 ear-popping hacks so you can relieve ear pain on flights and travel smart in style. Let's do this. So what exactly is airplane ear? It's that uncomfortable feeling of fullness in your ears caused by an imbalance in air pressure between the airplane cabin and your middle ear. This happens because the eustachian tube, which regulates the ear pressure, can't keep up with the rapid changes in altitude. So why does this happen? When the air pressure in the middle ear and the airplane cabin don't match, your eardrum can't vibrate normally. This can be especially problematic if you have a cold or allergies, which can cause inflammation and can clog the eustachian tube. If the tube can't open properly, you might experience pain, or you could even risk rupturing your eardrum. So before I even get into specific ear popping hacks, if you're about to fly and you have clogged sinuses for any reason, take a decongestant before getting on the plane. I'm amazed that it's not more openly discussed as a precautionary measure. I've met people who ruptured their ears while flying so badly that they were told never to fly again. Don't be them. Now, let's talk about how to pop your ears on a plane. I'll start off with the easy hacks. I'll move into some more complicated ones. I'll show you some gadgets that might help. And I'll finish off with something you can do if your ears are still plugged when you get off the plane. Once upon a time, flight attendants would hand out candy or gum at the start of the flight, and again just as the plane was starting into the descent. This is because the repetitive motion of chewing or sucking can regulate your ear pressure and can keep the eustachian tubes active and open, which is particularly important while the plane is changing altitude dramatically during takeoff and landing. The other thing that gum or candy does is it produces extra saliva in your mouth, which makes you swallow more. Each swallow activates the muscles that control the opening of the eustachian tube, which allows trapped air to escape or air to flow into the middle ear, relieving the pressure and the discomfort. So if you don't have or don't want to do the gum or candy thing, your trusty reusable bottle of water can come to the rescue. I literally bring this bottle everywhere I go, and I leave it empty to clear security. Then I fill it at water fountains on the other side so that I have a full liter of water for the flight. Yawning has been one of the more effective ways that I have found to pop my ears while the plane is descending. The act of opening your mouth wide helps activate the eustachian tube, but I don't find it really works until I'm finishing off a really big, long yawn. In fact, when my ears are bad on descent, I will yawn so deeply and so constantly that yawn tears will be streaming down my face. It's not pretty, which is why I'm going to show a tool in a bit that works way better than yawning. But in a pinch, yawning helps. Blowing your nose is also an ear-popping technique that people don't talk about, but that has been very effective for me. So I always make sure that I have an extra stash of tissues when I fly so that I can blow my nose. It works because blowing your nose creates a forceful exhalation that can help push air through the eustachian tubes. It also helps clear any blockages or mucus that might be preventing the tubes from opening properly. As the air pressure equalizes, you may feel a popping or clicking sensation in your ears, indicating that the eustachian tubes have properly opened and the pressure has been balanced. Although I tend to give it a good go when blowing my nose, medical experts will caution you to blow your nose gently to avoid the damaging of the eardrum or other structures within the ear. Ironically, medical experts then go on to recommend the next technique, which I find worse, but you might find easier. It's called the Valsalva maneuver. It's commonly used amongst scuba divers to equalize the pressure while scuba diving. As a side note, my ears can be so problematic with pressure that I basically had to give up scuba diving entirely because the Valsalva maneuver is pretty much the only way to equalize the pressure underwater, and it's almost impossible for me to do successfully. The same applies in the air. This may work for you while flying, but it doesn't for me. In fact, for me, it usually just makes things worse. Regardless, here's how to do it. First, take a deep breath and hold it. Pinch your nostrils closed with your fingers to prevent air from escaping through your nose. Next, close your mouth And try to exhale forcefully, like you're trying to blow up a balloon. This creates pressure that pushes air up into the eustachian tubes, which allows air to flow into the middle ear, thus equalizing the pressure. I read an article that describes the Valsalva maneuver with an additional element that I haven't tried, but maybe it'll help. It also involves bearing down, like you're going to the bathroom, while doing the blowing out thing with your nose plugged. It all sounds a little bit complicated, but hey, if the shoe fits. Medical experts also caution that you need to be gentle while performing the Valsalva maneuver to avoid causing damage to your eardrums. They also say that it temporarily affects your blood pressure and your heart rate. So, if you have a heart condition or other medical issues, you should consult a healthcare provider before trying the Valsalva maneuver. If you do try the Valsalva maneuver and it doesn't work, you can try the Toynbee maneuver instead. It's super simple, just pinch your nose shut while swallowing. You can level up this technique by sipping water as a means to swallowing. Admittedly, I haven't tried the Toynbee maneuver, so if you try it and it works for you, please let us know in the comments along with any other ear-popping hacks that you have. While you're there, please subscribe to my channel and give it a like, because it is one of the best and easiest ways you can express your appreciation for my arsenal of free content and to help me reach more people like you. So, thank you. Before I get into some physical tools to help you regulate your ear pressure while flying, it's important to note that simply staying awake during takeoff and landing will help prevent your ears from getting clogged in the first place. Mostly because when you're asleep, you won't be yawning or swallowing as much, both of which can help with pressure regulation. Of all the tips I've discussed so far, the only two that really work for me are yawning, like constantly, and blowing my nose, also constantly, which basically means I'm a mess throughout the entire descent. And I'm still in pain throughout the whole process, and sometimes I still can't clear my ears, and they remain clogged for hours after I land. If this sounds at all like you, then you might want to level up your ear pressure relief strategies with some of the following tools. A flight attendant friend tipped me off to using nasal decongestant spray before flying. By reducing inflammation with this spray, you can keep your eustachian tubes open. While it definitely helps for me, it's not a magic bullet. And yes, I do have a magic bullet, which I will show you in a second. A few years ago, I was introduced to a eustachian tube exerciser. And despite being a bit bulky, I hoped it would be my magic bullet. It wasn't for me, but that's not to say that it won't work for everybody. The idea is it gently blows air up one nostril while you plug the other nostril and swallow. And doing this helps clear your eustachian tubes. When I tried using it, the result was similar to when I tried the Valsalva maneuver, which is to say that it actually blocks my ears more rather than clearing them. My magic bullet are these puppies, which are called earplanes. I've mentioned them in a few videos, and I'm going to keep mentioning them because they have been a total savior for me on flights. I put them in when the plane starts to descend, and I simply don't have any ear pain and my ears don't get plugged. While they do look like regular earplugs, there is more to them. They have a little ceramic filter inside that slows down the shift of air pressure so that your ears can adjust more gradually to the change in altitude and pressure as the plane descends. On the instructions, it also says that chronic sufferers can wear them while the plane ascends as well as when it descends, but I haven't found that it makes a difference. I'm generally okay on the ascent. It's the descent that kills me. They also make earplanes for children and babies, which can be really handy since children can't necessarily clear their own ears. And they even have a free app that measures the cabin pressure and tells you when to put them in. If your ears are still clogged after the flight, they should naturally clear within a few hours. But if you want to help them along, heat apparently helps. Simply wet a washcloth with warm water and hold it against your ears. The warmth helps to relax the muscles so the eustachian tubes can open more easily. It also improves blood circulation, which can reduce inflammation that might be blocking the tubes. And if there's any fluid buildup in the ear, it can also help drain that as well. There is much more to flight comfort than minimizing ear pain. For more on how to make the most of your next flight, you will definitely want to check out these two videos. I'm Nora Dunn, aka the Professional Hobo, and I'll catch you next time.